there's a comfort to the familiarity that we bring, right? And we speak the same language. And sometimes we can make this game way too hard. It's not that hard of a game. And so it's kind of the consultative approach of what do we have to do to get every single guy that has a chance to make millions of dollars doing this? What do we have to do to get them comfortable and get them ready? And sometimes that means throwing the ball. Sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes it means talking through things. Sometimes it's pointing them in a different direction. And so we use, the first part of the week to kind of check in and see where everybody's at, what they need, that type of stuff. Essentially, it's a decluttering is what it is. It's like, how can we declutter everything where your main focus is school, if that's what you please, and football, right? And outside of that, let's take everything else off your plate. There's been a little bit of that with Ant, right? He's from Gainesville. There's a lot there for him. And so I think for him, the decluttering and just getting into a rhythm is really what we're searching for right now, is how can we get him comfortable and confident and into a rhythm. And I don't even think it matters who they're playing. I think that is irrelevant right now, whether it's South Florida or Tennessee.
Emotionally, psychologically, because I know how close you are to him. How is he?
He's actually good. He's good. He's had a great week. Even he was good after Saturday. But now it's kind of that, let's find it. Let's find it again. Let's get you out there being Anthony Richardson. You don't need to be anybody else. Just be Anthony Richardson. And getting the W was huge, huge. We'd be having a whole different conversation, I think, if that would have been a loss.
There's one thing, and Hayes, I'm sorry, but one thing, because we have an accountability too, all of us do in our industry, he's not playing very well.
That's right.
And I think the reality is he's really playing very poorly. And not just him, but I mean, he's last in the league in completion percentage, yardage, and second in interceptions. So that's and we'll talk about the whys in a minute. But he's also a nice kid. So you wonder how's he doing, because he's a smart kid too. He knows all that.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, and nobody's telling him anything he don't already know.
Right.
And I think that's the important thing when you're dealing with stuff like this. I learned this a couple years ago with a different guy. They know, and they want to do better or worse than I want them to do better,
Sure.
or Gator fans want them to do better. It's just, how do we find that lane, right? How do we find that comfort? And frankly, that's what we're searching for, not just with Anthony, but with literally every single person that we work with.
Playing quarterback is infinitely harder than being a golfer.
Mm-hmm.
So this may be a dumb question, but we know in golf, players can get the yips, and just simple things become very difficult for them. Does that happen at the quarterback position? Is that happening with Ant?
It does happen. It's not happening with Ant. Yeah, it does happen. It is very similar to golf. It usually starts with the hips. So we've dealt with that so many times, and it's the worst thing ever. But that is not what's going on with Ant. He's throwing the ball fine. Like, the ball's coming out of his hand really well. And and I think you guys will agree with this. There was big improvement from Kentucky to USF on the way that he didn't gas everything, right? And so you're starting to see little by little growth, but it's the thing that we all want to see, is that push in the back of, hey, take this over and run, right? Let's go. And it's just a matter of time, I hope, before that clicks.
I said this earlier in the show, and I'll never say anything that you and I talk off air a lot, Denny. So this is stuff that my fear is that to be good, it is my opinion, I'm not the quarterback guy, that he's going to have to play some sandlot football. To be good, that sitting in a pocket, going through progressions, doing the standard conventional things. And I haven't seen him enough to know that, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I don't pretend to know something that I don't. I'm no expert on this. But just being honest with you, my fear is that to be good, he's going to have to be the guy we saw against USF last year and Utah this year, running around like crazy, making 30-yard runs, hurdling people, throwing off balance. That's my fear, that I want to see more sandlot.
Why is that a fear, though? Well, because that's what the game is now. I mean, you look at Mahomes, look at Josh Allen right now. You look at Jalen Hurts.
Well, good. It's a great point. My fear, but I haven't seen him do it.
Okay, I got you.
So let me.
Is it still in him?
Yeah. Is it still there, or why isn't he? Is he hurt? Is he coached not to? Is he trying to be conventional? Everybody's asking these same questions. I don't see him snapping out of it, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think every reason you just named right there's a little bit of all of it, right? There's a little bit of, hey, we don't have a backup. There's a little bit of all that stuff.
Yeah,
right. I don't think that's the reason, but I think the accumulation of all that, it adds up and it becomes an issue. He absolutely still has that in him. It's just let it go. And you're very right on the offseason of we need to see this, we need to see that. Coaching turnover, new offense, which has you thinking extra as it is. All of that stuff added together is just kind of the perfect storm. And, this much I know about Anthony is he is a fierce competitor. And so the message to him now is you don't worry about any of that stuff. You win football games because your mood was remarkably better after USF than it was Kentucky. I don't know if the performance was any better, but your mood was a lot better and you've had a better week leading in now because you won. And that's what the purpose of this is. Whatever you have to do, I don't care if you have to punt, whatever you have to do against Tennessee, win the football game. We'll worry about the rest of the stuff later. You still got 2 years of eligibility at Florida.
Right.
You don't have to come out right now.
How much is he being hurt by receivers not running the right routes or not running the precise routes to the distance? And is it a receiver thing as well that's factoring in here where he doesn't know exactly if the guys are going to be where they need to be?
Well, here's the good and the bad of Anthony. I'm going to answer this 2 ways, Hayes. He'll never say if that's it. Will never say.
Yeah, I sense that.
He will never say anything except for it's my fault. It's just the way he was raised. I think that I don't know about the spot. I think he's going through a little bit of what Trevor went through last year. There's just not a whole lot of separation and throws have to be perfect, right? And you start putting that stress on you all the way through a football game, you're going to make some bad throws. And a lot of times what you do is you start the throw and you realize, oh, I don't even have an opening. And so you try to hold on to it or you let go, and then that becomes an ugly throw. So he has never said that. That's me watching film going, there's not a whole lot of separation there. That's a very tight window for somebody.
If I was coaching Florida, and I said this earlier in the program, so help me, my script, they script 15 of them or whatever, right? I'm not making them. My script would be quarterback power, quarterback draw, RPO, but I tell him to keep it no matter what he reads, and a naked. Those would be my first 4 plays.
I don't disagree.
First 4 plays.
Yep.
Just to get him going and to get all that going. And then, and you know what? And if they start defending the run, well, then hand it to Montrell Johnson. Or then, you know what? And then call a play action play. But I think you got to get him going like that.
Well, I was funny. I was watching FSU the other night, and they have this really good thing going right now where they have a receiver that you have to pay a lot of attention to, very strong running game, and a quarterback that can also run it.
Do both.
That is so hard to defend. And so if you do nothing else other than establish that's all you've got to do. 15 is that good of an athlete, right? Where to your point, Frank, just make them worry about you.
Against LSU, I've watched every play of every FSU game and every play of every Florida game. Against Duquesne, they ran out of a pistol the whole time, and he handed off to the backs. I don't think Jordan Travis ever left the pocket against Duquesne. I watched the whole game. Against LSU, everything was a moving pocket.
Yep.
I don't think he was ever in the pocket.
Yep.
If you go, if anyone if you're an FSU fan, you got all those games on your DVR, you go back and I'm not kidding about this. I think they moved him out of the pocket. He could have thrown any pass. He could have grounded the ball or thrown it out of bounds. It wouldn't have been called for grounding. I thought he was out of the tackle box. I'm not making this up.
Yep.
Every single play against LSU. Why wouldn't they do that with Ant?
I don't know. I mean, I think strategically, if you look at the two offenses, the one thing that Florida State has that Florida doesn't have is that dominant outside receiver.
Yeah, you're right.
That you have to pay attention to, walk a safety over, bring the alley guy a little further out or whatever. So it's that combination right there, because now you're taking a guy out of the box and you're taking the spy, and I'm air quoting because we use the term spy wrong a lot. But you're taking the spy away from the quarterback. So now it's like you're kind of picking what you defend, you call off of that. That's where Florida has to get. They got to find that outside guy, and that outside guy should be Shorter or Henderson or somebody that just does enough to make them worry about it. And then you got to let Anthony just roll. You got to let him play. And by let him, he's got to play. I'm not putting this all on Napier. I'm not putting any of this actually on Napier right now. Anthony's got to wake up Saturday like just feeling like, you know what, win, lose, or draw, mistakes or not, I'm just going to go try to take this game over. If I throw 5 picks, I throw 5 picks, right? If I have 13 rushes for 2 yards, then that's fine too. Because the other side of that is you may do what you did against LSU, right? You may have them so baffled that you throw 5 touchdowns and run for 2 more, right? And you may find a rhythm with that. So I just think it's a mindset right now.
All right, we'll take a break. Let's get to Trevor Lawrence, who was very good last week. More quarterback talk with Denny after this.